Alright, folks, welcome to a weekly market recap. This whole week, I didn't even take a trade. I only had one setup, which was a missed setup. Which the setup I did had a limit order there, but the place where placed my limit order did not get tapped. But that's the only setup I had throughout the whole week. The lower portion of the setup got met, but the higher hierarchy of the setup didn't get met, which didn't make sense to get met because it didn't make sense at all. So we should have executed the lower portion and put a stop loss at the higher portion of the setup. So the only setup we had was on the I'm pretty sure on the Thursday setup. Every other day was no setup. This whole week was pretty dookie. As you guys always know, this week was going to be a very, very bad week because there was no news, right? As you guys know, when there's news in the market, like CPI, NFP, they make the market move in a good price action. As this week, there was none. There was only a FOMC meeting minutes, but meeting minutes, right? So it's going to be bad, which why the meeting minutes were, as you can see. So this whole week, I didn't take any trade, but I did have a setup, which we're going to talk about, which that setup was a missed setup, which we're going to talk about because my limit order is supposed to be here, but I set my limit order at a 50% mark. As I said, my high time and key level is going to be around the 0.86 mark of the OTE at the high time and key level itself. In this case, it was right over here, but it was the 0.86 was already in the key level, which is the 50% mark, which is the 50% mark of the duration block. Wasn't making sense to get met because Thursday market goes at a fair price. Market needs to go back down lower, and it's Thursday, so market needs to close that weekly range gap, meaning it needs to go down lower, and that's the reason why it didn't make sense to go to the 0.86. So we could have 0.86 as a stop loss, right? Because it's Thursday, as you guys know. Whenever, if it's Monday or if it was Monday through Wednesday, and we have a big, if we have an entry, we have to widen our stop loss, right? If the resistance block is big. But if it's Thursday through Friday and it doesn't go against the higher time general liquidity, we can short our stop loss. If it's Thursday through Friday and it goes with the higher time general liquidity, we can short our stop loss again because Thursday, Friday. If it's Monday through Wednesday, but it doesn't follow the higher time general liquidity, we can shoot our stop loss. But if it does follow the high time general liquidity and we need to let the market to breathe, you have to increase our stop loss by a lot. In this case, we could have short our stop loss at the 0.86 and made our profit for the day. So yeah, that was overall the one of the lessons you want to talk about. But yeah, let's go over the whole week. Monday, I'm not gonna talk about the setups. The days I didn't take a setup. Monday was bearish, which was market downside. Tuesday I was bearish. Tuesday I was bullish for the first half of the day until none session. After the session, I was back to being bearish. Boom, I was bearish again. Wednesday I was bullish. Was I bullish on Wednesday? No, I wasn't. No, I was. On Wednesday, I was bearish again because there was an ERL right on this low. So I was looking to sell it off on this 0.86 mark, which got tapped. Actually, it went down lower. So we're going to go over Thursday, Friday, had no setup. Obviously, a pretty shitty day. And let's go over straight into it. So on Thursday, our setup overall bearish on the higher time frame. Go to the bar replay right over here. So what do we had here? We had a daily IRL back to ERL, daily CRT. I'm pretty sure there's a daily S&P CRT downside here. Sure though. There was a daily CRT downside. There was no daily S&P CRTs here, but that's all there was. There was a daily S&P CRT downside, a daily CRT downside, daily IRL to ERL, a close below equals lower prices. We have a classic future profile to the downside. Monday half of the week, so looking for lower prices over on the higher time of the general liquidity being over here and lower. And we had a weekly CRT downside, a weekly ERL to IRL. Since Thursday, we're looking for a fixed RR only. And since we're entering the higher time kilo itself, we'll go for fixed RR. We're not entering the range. Lower time frame OTE and daily range, super high stable, premium discount. As well as we had a OTE, set the only time we can answer the high time key level itself is at the OTE mark. And the next thing we had here was bearish order flow, which is above a high, break lows. So the order flow is overall bearish, the market profiling is overall bearish. So we had our market entry in the context, and the time I analyzed this chart was around 5 p.m. No, 6 p.m. is when I analyzed this chart. It was when I'm looking for the short. Actually, for the shorting opportunity, I wasn't even actually looking at it on Wednesday at 5 p.m. I was looking at it on the Tuesday. So right after Tuesday, I was looking to short this down instantly, right? Because I thought it was gonna be pretty good because of obvious the OT and stuff like that. So I was looking to short it down. So the trade idea was starting from Tuesday, but on Tuesday, I had my trade idea around the 0.86 mark, which that's why I didn't get in the trade. That's why the market didn't give me the trade. So what happened was market tapped it on 17 o'clock, that eventually went down lower. They're gonna take profit for a fixed 5 RR. So when I had my entry was around on the 0.50% mark, which is that 0.86, which I thought okay could definitely get a met, but it didn't make sense to get met, so it didn't get met. So logically, it didn't make sense. So logically, it's not gonna get met, which it didn't. So that's what we had. That's what happened. So the lesson is very easy and simple of the week is that good setup happened after a long time of wait. Think and when trading, always think in logical ways, right? Never think unrealistic way. Always think logical way. And the next lesson is to always everything is possible. Right? Everything, nothing's impossible. Everything is possible. Nothing's unrealistic. Next lesson is that I must think in a logical way of mentoring my trades. Logically, on Thursday, since the trade happened on Thursday, market needs to close at a fair price, which needs to go down lower. Market needs to close at a fair price again, which needs to go down lower. Market has a classic expression profile to the downside, which needs to go down lower. We have a daily arrow to arrow, which needs to go down lower, etc., which is why we're gonna go down lower, right? So it logically didn't make sense to go over here since the market needs to close at a fair price. If it needs to close at a fair price, it can't just go up all the way to the market opening where you can't just go back up to the opening price and then go lower. That didn't make sense over there, right? Because obviously the candles over here overall a bearish candle, so it doesn't make sense to go back all the way up because there's gonna be a big ass wick, which the candle doesn't close like that, right? So yeah, that's the lesson. The next lesson is that think logically, and next from now on forward, if I have a setup that logically doesn't make sense to hit a 0.86 mark, but it is in a deep OT, I would take it. And yeah, that's the overall lesson. And yeah, we got anything else on this lesson? The next thing is that on the daily IRO to ERO to IRO, the phase resets. And the phase resets is when the high time zone goes from bearish to bullish or bullish to bearish. Eventually look for a reset, meaning from the reset from an ERO back to IRO back to ERO, etc., then eventually reset the whole rhythm of the IRO to ERO. And yeah, this overall lesson of the week. The next lesson is to not sleep during the training session. I cannot fall asleep during the training session. I did not fall asleep during the training session, but it cannot happen, right? I did fall asleep a little bit on Friday, which it's gonna be a shitty day anyways. I knew it was gonna be a shitty day, but we cannot, right? So yeah, thank you for watching. Make sure you guys like, comment, share. This was a missed fixed 5 hour setup, and yeah, am I mad about it? No, but I did journal it down, like this video. But yeah, big lesson, big lesson. Yeah, next time on, I think logically, if the market doesn't make sense to go, the market doesn't make sense to go at the 0.86 mark, and if the 0.86 mark is already at the key level, it doesn't make sense to go there. We can enter somewhere else and go there. And our stop loss has to be realistic and it has to make sense, and as well as we have to match the order of stop losses, which in this case the stop loss would have been fine, right? If you put a stop loss all over here, it would have not made sense that much. Why? Because it's not needed, right? And you don't need that big of a stop loss. We don't really need it at all. Why? Because I said again, it's not needed. So this is the market recap, weekly market recap, as well as a mid trade recap, and thinking of method of top. As you guys know, whenever there's a big resistance block, we can put our stop loss at the 0.3% mark of that resistance block, which usually won't get contested if you're right. And if it makes sense, right? Usually the 0.3% mark will get met if it logically makes sense, which time of the day of the week, etc., right? So yeah, usually for me, when the resistance block is very big, I don't see the 0.3% mark getting tapped. I just see a instant reaction, especially in the lower time frame. If you're watching, she's a 4-hour time frame. So yeah, thanks for watching. If you guys like, I'm gonna share. Comment down below, and I'll see you guys later. Peace out.